Hello, friends. I know I haven't spoken to you in a minute here, but it's been a hell of a week for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. And, I've been wanting to do a podcast this week. Timing just has not worked out. Tuesday, I had a guest lined up. They were then available for Wednesday. Unfortunately, given the events that happened at the Capitol, I didn't feel comfortable doing a basketball podcast on Wednesday. So I kind of put it on the back burner, figured, maybe I'll do something Friday. But now with the news, with the Sixers coming out late last night about the report of the positive COVID-19 test for Seth Curry, again, I didn't necessarily feel comfortable bringing a guest on and doing a whole podcast, but I also didn't want to go an entire week without talking to you guys. So I figured I'd just make this quick hit video, just talk to you for a little bit. I think we have to start with the reports out there that Seth Curry did in fact test positive for the coronavirus. The test result came in after the first quarter, at which point Seth was removed from the bench. And the troubling thing here is that he didn't get the test back. He didn't get the positive result back until after the first quarter. And, another report coming out from Ramona Shelburne that Joel Embiid sat next to Seth Curry and that now Joel Embiid wants to quarantine. And I don't think you can blame him. He's got a 3-year-old son at home. He's got a family to worry about. So he doesn't want to, he wants to be 100% sure that he's not infected. And, I can't, again, I don't know how you could blame him for that. And the whole team now, as of now, under quarantine, they're doing contact tracing, which I'm just really puzzled on how that's all going to work, because Seth Curry obviously traveled with the team. They had, according to reports from Shams Charania from The Athletic, Seth did test negative, before the day began, before they traveled, and then gets to the arena and then finds out after the first quarter he has it, or that it's a positive test, I should say, to be clear, to make sure we're 100% accurate on this. And to me, it's just troubling in so many ways, because he was on the bench for an entire quarter while his test was pending, and then it comes out positive. I don't know what, from our perspective, from everything we've heard so far, because there's going to be probably more details come out. We're going to learn more. But as far as the Sixers did everything according to the NBA guidelines. They got tested before they went to Brooklyn. They got tested when they arrived at the arena. Something has to be better in this process. For a guy to sit with his team, to be with his team around warmups, and not just his teammates, not just the players, but to be around staff, to be around the coach, to be around the athletic training staff, to be around the equipment people. I mean, that's a lot of people that potentially were exposed. And, you can't blame Seth. He didn't know. He's going by, again, and even the Sixers, they're doing everything, as far as we know, doing everything that they're supposed to be doing. So something needs to change, it would appear, with the NBA's process, whether it's, players have to arrive sooner to the arena, or whether it's, a different testing that comes back faster. Rapid testing is apparently not as rapid as maybe we would like it to be. So it feels like something has to change. I don't know what it is. I get, and we've all said it a million times in the last 10 months. It's unprecedented. We haven't dealt with it. The NBA is not in the bubble anymore. It's a different experience now that guys are traveling and guys are going home and guys are going to different arenas, and there's fans in some of these arenas. There's media in some of these arenas. So it's a different ballgame. It's entirely different. So I don't know what has to change, but something has to, because this kind of thing, it seems like it shouldn't happen. We shouldn't have a guy sitting on a bench for an entire quarter with his test pending and then it coming up positive. It's not great. And now, as I'm doing this video, I'm seeing that Woj is reporting that multiple Sixers are going to have to sit out because of contact tracing. So, what's the next logical step here? They play in Denver, they play Denver at home on Saturday at 3:00. How many guys are they going to be missing? How many guys are going to have to sit out? And what is the determination of who does and who doesn't? So it's a lot of gray area, it feels like. And look, the Sixers schedule, just to tie it in with basketball for a second, their schedule is difficult coming up. I mean, starting with Denver. Denver right now, they have a losing record, but that's a good basketball team with arguably a guy who's been an MVP candidate in Nikola Jokic, and how great he's been. And they're hungry. They're when I see a good team, which I believe Denver is, with a bad record, that means to me that they're a hungry team. So that worries me. And then going forward, you got to play a series with the Miami Heat. You got to play them for 2 games. You got a series coming up with the Boston Celtics. This schedule is not easy. And so, just for so many levels, first and foremost, the safety of the players and the staff and everyone involved, that is the biggest thing. Where do we go from here with that? And, can we make sure that everyone is safe and healthy and doing everything the right way? And then from a basketball standpoint, this doesn't get any easier from the Sixers standpoint. And just to talk about actual basketball for a minute, it's not great that they're going into this and they're having all these issues coming off such a bad loss. And we have to call it that. It's a bad loss. They go into Brooklyn, no Kevin Durant, no Kyrie Irving. Spencer Dinwiddie's been out, for a bit. He just had ACL surgery, so he's out for the season. That's arguably their 3 best players, depending on how, we could argue about that, but arguably their 3 best players sidelined. And so there's really no reason for the Sixers, to go into that building and lose that game. I will say, though, too, it's a bad loss. We don't want to minimize that, but at the same time, you can't overreact. This team is still 7-2. Their 2 losses have been the second games of back-to-back with a significant starter out of the lineup. If we look back on the Sixers season and all their losses are in the second half of back-to-backs while they're not at full strength, I think you can live with that. So I think that's where we kind of need to look at it. Like, should they have won the game? Absolutely. You can't make an excuse for it. They got to win the game. But I think, if this becomes a trend, if what we saw last year was a troubling trend where they did stuff like this, but I think we've already seen things to the contrary where I'm not comfortable saying that this is the same team and that this is the same trends, because they went into Orlando and that place has been a house of horrors for them, and they beat up the Magic. I mean, they crushed them, wire to wire blowout win. Then they come home and they play a not very good Charlotte Hornets team, and they take it seriously and they win both games wire to wire and win. So I mean, they've taken care of business for the most part. So this is a bad game, but I just want everyone to keep it in perspective. Plus, I think part of the blame is, to me at least, from my perspective, what I saw, the 2 guys that looked the most tired were Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. And think back to the night before against Washington. They blow that 21-point lead. They have to come back. And Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons were a huge part of that down the stretch. They really had to scratch and claw to get the Sixers that win. So it's understandable that they were tired. But it does. It goes back to the fact that, hey, a 21-point lead. They probably got a little too content with that lead and sat on it. And that allowed Washington to get into the game. And it's a ripple effect. And then on top of all that, it's just this season's going to be so weird. It already has been, right? Look around the league and you look at some of the teams that have lost to some bad teams and some bad nights. When you factor in, short off seasons and, all of this, all the health and safety protocols, and we've already seen so many tests, positive tests, and then guys sitting out for contact tracing around the league. So it's already been such a weird season, and it's not going to get, probably, I wouldn't imagine it gets any less weird. Especially for the Sixers, new new coach, new system, new players, and now you're dealing with, they already had injuries. They already had 2 of their bench players with injuries, and before Seth Curry tested positive, he had an injury with his ankle. So you pile that all on, and now you have this issue with the contact tracing and the health and safety protocols. This is going to be a tough stretch for the Sixers coming up, and it's worrisome for a lot of people, and we'll see how they go at it. We'll see how they kind of attack it, and it's this is a test. This is a huge test from a mental standpoint, from a physical standpoint, and again, just to go back, just to put a bow on all of this with the coronavirus and everything, you have to hope that everyone is safe, everyone is healthy from the Sixers side, and that everything has been done. I'm sure that the Sixers appear to be following everything according to the health and safety guidelines provided by the NBA. So let's just hope that continues, and the league, everyone does the right thing, and everyone takes care of each other. The positives for the Sixers, the 2 young guards, Shake Milton and Tyrese Maxey, they were excellent. The last 2 games, Shake Milton has looked much better offensively. He's attacking, he's getting to the basket, and he's getting to the free throw line, which to me, that's pretty important. When you look at the roster, and they don't really have, other than Joel Embiid, there aren't many guys on this roster that get to the free throw line. And so a guy like Shake Milton to have the amount of free throws he's had over the last 2 games, I think is big. And I think it's also helped him. He said that he wasn't really looking to get to the line any more than normal last night, but it seems like that the attacking style and getting to the rim has helped him with his outside game. He looks like he's hitting more shots, so hopefully that trend continues. And then you look at Tyrese Maxey, and man, every time I want to think to myself, all right, maybe because I've loved the pick since they made it, but I've wanted to humor kind of humble myself with it and say, hey, he's 20 years old, he's a rookie, let's pump the brakes. But then he has a game like he does, and it seems like he just keeps getting better. The shot, which is something that has been so scrutinized, he was under 30% at Kentucky. That's probably a big part of the reason why he falls to the Sixers at 21. The last 3 games, he's made threes, and he's made them confidently. That's what I like. I like the look of them. When I see him dribbling up the court and the defense backing off and him saying, all right, I'm going to pull up. And then he pulls up and hits it in some guy's face. And that stuff gets on a scouting report. Suddenly it's, all right, well, we can't just give this guy room because we have to respect his drive. We also have to respect that he might pull up and he might hit a 3. So you add that into the mix, into the scouting report, and it's going to make his dribble drive game, his ability to operate on ball screens, and it's going to make him so much more dangerous offensively. So I think if there's one thing that we can draw from the Nets game that's a positive, that Milton Maxey bench backcourt already looks pretty dangerous, and they're both young guys. They're both still growing. They're going to grow chemistry together. And look, when Furkan Korkmaz comes back, when Mike Scott comes back, Tyrese Maxey still needs to get minutes. He's playing way too well. He has a skill set that they need that they just haven't had. So I think that's the overwhelming positive for the Sixers is they have a young backcourt coming off their bench that has a lot of promise. And that's something, look, the Sixers have desperately needed that for the last however many years. They haven't had that kind of player. So to now have 2 of them and both of them kind of, developing and growing at this rate, I think is extremely positive news. And look, we'll see what the schedule brings. We don't really know what's going to happen. It's clear the Sixers are going to be missing a few guys going forward, so it's going to be really tough. But we'll see what happens. I'm hopeful that again everyone is going to take care of themselves. The players are going to be smart, and they're going to take care of each other, and they can kind of quell this as best they can. And for everyone out there, man, for all you guys that are watching this, that have followed along with me in my career, please, man, be careful, take care of each other. And again, with the week we've had and what's going on, man, just be good to each other. Seriously, be kind. It costs nothing to be kind, man. Just be good to each other, take care of each other. And that's the overriding message I got for you guys today. And I'll talk to you.